So you're thinking about making a move to the Boise, Idaho area, but what is the best specific neighborhood for you and your family? Today I'm going to take you through part 2 of our full deep dive together on all of the different subsections that make up the Boise, Idaho area. We're going to focus on a few of my favorites here today, and be sure to stay till the end because the last place that I'm going to talk about is one of my favorite parts of our entire Treasure Valley. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chase Dolan, and today I'm going to walk you through again part 2 of our deep dive into all of the different neighborhoods that make up Boise, Idaho. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, these are not super important to watch in a certain order, but go ahead and hop over and watch that one because I'm sure I'll refer to it as I'm talking through it. But today we're going to talk about 4 of the best neighborhoods here in the area. We're going to talk about the Boise Bench and what makes this one of the most unique and diverse places in our town. We're going to hop over to the East End, just outside of downtown, where we have some of the most historic homes in the entire Treasure Valley. We're going to take a look at Barber Valley, which is going to include some of the best view homes and luxury subdivisions, while also having Harris Ranch, one of the biggest master plan communities that's only going to continue to grow. And we're also going to look at Southeast Boise, all the way down to the University by Boise State, but going out to the big master plan community of Columbia Village as well. This is a good one, so I hope that you find it helpful, but let's go ahead and hop into the computer and show you around. To get started, we're going to go through the first neighborhood of the day, and we're going to talk about the East End. So the East End, when I'm referring to that, is going to be basically kind of what the name suggests, out the east end of downtown. It's going to encompass a lot of space, but it's also going to have this foothill section up at the top. You're going to see as you kind of look at the grid in the middle of the East End that there's 2 distinct areas that make up the entire neighborhood, kind of split right here. You're going to have this side, which is going to look a lot more like the Highlands that we went through in part 1. All of the homes and all of the streets are going to be kind of these single streets, kind of doing switchbacks up the foothills as they go. You're going to have some killer views on one side. You're going to have private lots on the other side. This is where you're going to find some really nice homes, but this is also going to be the expensive portion of the East End relatively. Then when we look over in this part, this is going to look a lot like the North End that we went through the other day. So the North End here, and then the East End, you can just see that it's a similar setup from a city perspective. The North End and the East End are split right here by the military reserve. And this isn't something I'm going to spend a lot of time on, but the military reserve right here, it's a great hike located just outside of downtown. They have a ton of trailheads. And if you take one up, I don't know where on the map technically we are, kind of shoot up here. If you take one of the trails up, it'll kind of loop back around, I believe, kind of right here. And it'll take you onto this nice little vista that overlooks all of downtown, gets a really nice cityscape in the background. It's actually where my wife and I did our engagement pictures a few years back. So it is a great spot. And again, it's kind of forgotten about when we start to look at all the different trails in the area. Warm Springs, the road right here. Oh, come on. This road right here is gonna be one of the streets that people kind of refer to when they're talking about kind of some of the special houses in the area. So you're going to see kind of on both sides, it's going to be a tree-lined street down the center. On both sides of Warm Springs Avenue, you're going to have some pretty cool homes. You're going to have one that looks just like a castle. Aaron Paul's home used to be back here. There's a ton of really big estate homes, but they've been really well taken care of, similar to what Harrison Boulevard was, but just kind of on a little bit lower of a level. As we look into the things to actually do in the East End, the cool part is with that proximity to downtown, you're really not going to be wanting for any sort of things to do, amenities, restaurants, shopping, hospitals, anything along those lines. Again, you've got the Boise Bike Park, Fort Boise Park right there, Donna Larson. You're going to have the Kristen Armstrong Municipal Park, great name, located there. But the big one is you're going to have the Boise River basically right out your back door. And then you're also going to have the Greenbelt kind of following that. You're going to have another park over here, Warm Springs Park. You're going to have the old Idaho Penitentiary, more trailheads here, but this one's actually going to take you up to Table Rock, which is a really cool hike up into basically just a big rock that overlooks all of downtown. And then you're going to have Warm Springs Golf Course just down the road a little bit. And then one of the big things about the East End right in your backyard is going to be the Idaho Botanical Garden here. This is a place that has a ton of big events all throughout the year. So of course you can go at any time and actually check out the Botanical Garden itself. Throughout the summer, they actually have a really cool concert series that happens every couple of weeks. A pretty big name artists will come out. They'll have the outdoor concert go. You bring your own chair. There's going to be food trucks all around the outside. They have drinks for sale. Really nice experience in the middle of summer. And then when we get into the winter, we're also going to have Winter Garden Aglow, which I know I've talked about on the channel in kind of the holidays video. You can find that up top. Winter Garden Aglow is going to be one of the biggest kind of winter event spectaculars for you and your family to go and check out. But the Idaho Botanical Garden, really cool place to have, again, just outside your backyard. Hopping over to the real estate that's actually for sale right now in the East End, I want to give you a little bit of a view at that diversity that I was talking about. The East End is not going to have a very wide range of diverse options, but they are going to have some that drop down a little bit closer to that median price point than the ones we talked about in part one. The East End is still going to be pretty expensive because it has that proximity to downtown. Whenever you're closer to the urban center, things are just going to be more expensive, and then as you get out. But this is also a part of the town being sandwiched right between the foothills on one end and the Boise River on the other. That's kind of some prime real estate. So this is where people are gonna wanna live. And then when we talk about Barber Valley later in the video, you're gonna see that continue. But a couple of things that I wanna point out here is you're gonna have this one right here kind of being on more of the budget end, I would say, of the East End. So we're gonna be over here at just under 630,000. I wanted to highlight this one because we see this kind of construction and, to be honest, this exact floor plan all throughout downtown. We see it a lot on the Boise Bench. We see it a lot in the North End, the West End, and of course the East End. Big reason for it is you can build up and you can see that it's on a very small lot. So they're able to fit quite a few of these on any sort of parcel. This lot itself is just over 3,000 square feet. So a very, very small lot. But when you go in, you're gonna see that it is a newer home. You're gonna have the fireplace, you're gonna have the hardwood floors. The kitchen has been updated. It has kind of the tile countertops that look like granite. Upstairs is where pretty much everything is going to be. Both of your bathrooms, both of your bedrooms. You're going to have this kind of alley load garage. So it's actually going to be detached from your house, and your yard's going to be this little courtyard in the center. And then you'll drive into your garage from the alley in the back. And then you're going to see kind of the floor plan here. This right here, though, is going to explain kind of the appeal of the West End. So this house is going to be located right here. You're going to see you're just a couple minute walk from Fort Boise Park, from the Boise Bike Park right here, and then everything downtown is just right there. And then this actually gives a great view of the military reserve. That is, again, just right on the other side of the road. So that's going to be kind of the lower end of the homes that are available in the East End, excuse me. But I want to show you now some of the ones on the higher end. Going with this one, currently the highest priced one in the East End right now, but for good reason, is this one's at 1.65 million. It's just under 3,800 square feet. So it's a really large home, but the big parts here is it's on 0.4 acres of a lot. That's really hard to find, honestly, in most of the Treasure Valley, but especially close to downtown. But as we go through, you're going to see some of the updates and the luxury finishes that they did that really brings it into that high $1.6, $1.7 million range. Starting out with the pool, this is going to give you a look of kind of the outside of the back of the house. You're going to see pretty much unobstructed views outside of your own landscaping. You're going to have the view, a big pond, water featured here. This is the exterior. It's been updated, and it was updated really, really well and professionally done. Big windows outside the entire back of the house, both in the living and in the master bedroom, to again highlight that view. If you're going to spend close to $2 million on a home because of the view and the location, make sure that it's set up so that you can truly take advantage of it. Kitchen, great updates, kind of that chef's kitchen, but very modern, very sleek, very, very well done. And then as we continue through, you're just going to see big fireplace, everything outside, spa-like master bedroom, bathroom. Just an absolutely killer home. But again, you're going to see that this one's going to be 1.65 million, and it's going to be built into the hill again. So this one has the view on the backside. So you're going to see that it has kind of the walkout basement setup. So that shows kind of the difference between the lower end 629 and the higher end, almost a full $1 million more at 1.65 million. Just sliding in here to remind you that I am a licensed agent up here in the Boise, Idaho area. So whether you're making a move in 9 days, 9 months, I do not care. Call, text, email. If there's a way that I can help, I would absolutely love to. And make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. That way you are the first to know everything that there is to know about the Boise, Idaho area. Let's hop back in. Now let's hop over to the second neighborhood that I want to talk about today. And we're going to talk about a pretty big part of town here. And we're going to kind of lump it into its overarching kind of name here, the Boise Bench. The Boise Bench that we're going to talk about is basically everything that's inside our little almost triangle of highways here. Everything from I-84 all the way to 184. And then using Broadway right here next to the university is kind of the border between this and then what we call Southeast Boise, but you're going to see some bleed just like any neighborhood. Some of the things that are really going to make the Boise Bench stand out is as I'm starting to go around, you're going to see that there's going to be a lot of different types of communities. So you're going to have up here on the rim some great view homes that kind of overlook the canal and are going to be situated over most of the rest of this. So you're actually going to get a pretty good downtown view. You're going to get a good view of the foothills. As you come down Vista, you're going to see that there's going to be a ton of commercial. This is where you're going to have a lot of restaurants, grocery stores, everything there kind of going down. And then Vista does turn into Capitol, which takes you right into the heart of downtown. So you're still very, very close to downtown, which is going to be part of that appeal. All of the types of homes in here, the type of neighborhood, the best way that I can explain it is think about kind of what's in the north end, what's in that one part at the east end, that extension of downtown, little smaller, older homes. Every home's going to be very unique. The lots might not be quite as big. You're not going to have dedicated fences in every single lot. Garages aren't going to be 100% guaranteed. Sidewalks won't always be guaranteed. But the character and some of these neighborhoods in here are absolutely to die for, and people would much rather live here than most other parts of town. And one of those amenities that people really do like is the access to the commercial, to the restaurants, shopping, everything along those lines. So I already went over Vista. Overland Road right here is going to be one of the other ones with all sorts of stuff that you're going to need. It's going to take you all the way into here, right at kind of Overland and Cole and the highway. This is where you're going to find a Costco. You're going to find all of the big chain restaurants. You're going to have a movie theater, Tucano's Brazilian Grill over here, your Walmart. This is a big part of town that really, regardless of where you live in the Treasure Valley, you're going to be spending some time right here at some point or another. And then if you continue down Cole, this is where you're going to get into Boise Town Square. You're going to get into the mall. Fairview right here is another one of those kind of commercial lanes that we have. So there's always kind of access to something. A big part of town that I know I talk about on this channel pretty frequently is going to be, again, another one of those areas that's going to offer you some of those kind of commercial opportunities, but on a little bit smaller scale. It's going to be Orchard Street. And in particular, if you kind of head down this way, once you pass Franklin right here, you're going to have a Fred Meyer. But this part of town, kind of between Franklin and I would say Emerald-ish, is going to be some of the most unique and good food that we have in our entire Treasure Valley. A few of the big ones are going to be Luciano's, the Italian restaurant, one of our favorites that we make sure to go to at least a couple times a year. Tango's Empanadas. If you haven't heard about them yet and you haven't tried them, do it. You're going to absolutely fall in love. They have a location in Meridian now, but this is the original one right in Boise. And then they also have a great Thai restaurant right here at Chiang Mai House. Really, really good. You're going to find a Campo's Market. It's a little bit more of where our diverse food will go to. It's not the same exact choices everywhere, but if you're looking for a certain type of cuisine that might not be quite as widespread or something really, really specific to you and your culture, check out Orchard, because that's where I've seen a lot of those start to pop up. And then as you leave that part of town, you're going to see the Central Rim here, which is going to have some of the more expensive homes in the Boise Bench area. Again, anytime you hear Rim, start to think of the view that's available, and you're going to see some really killer homes overlooking Catherine Albertson Park and Morrison. And then of course, seeing the entire downtown as an extension. As we continue over here, what I'm looking for. You're also going to have Hillcrest Country Club located pretty much right in the center of town. This is a massive country club that you do have to be a member of, and there is actually a pretty long waiting list right now. But golf-wise, this is one of the best golf courses in the entire valley. They have spent a lot of money to make it a pretty premier golfing experience. So something that you can go check out if you want to be a member. This is going to be one that's located right in the heart of town. Everything else is kind of typically scattered just a little bit more. Hopping over to the real estate that's available in the Boise Bench, this is where you're going to start to see some of that diversity. If you're really looking for something that isn't like anything else, the Boise Bench is going to have a lot of different types of homes that are going to be available to you. As you can already see just with the prices here in front of me, you're going to have $1 million homes in here, but you're also going to have some that are down in the 300,000s, which we just don't see as much in our valley anymore. One of the things that I talk to clients about when we're looking at the Boise Bench is some people absolutely fall in love. Other people drive through it and they're like, what is the big appeal? It looks a little older. It looks kind of run down. What is the appeal here? It really will depend on you, but the biggest thing that I can say, every street in the Boise Bench is gonna be a different scenario. Some of them have all been really well taken care of. You're gonna see some updated homes. Everything's gonna look really, really nice. And you're gonna be like, okay, I see the charm. Other ones are gonna be a ton of rundown homes. It might look a little bit older or a not so great part of town. It's kind of just as our expansion has been going, we've been seeing that as that development, as that kind of revitalization happens, certain roads happen before or after the others. That's where also some of this diversity in the prices are going to come in. If you're on a road that where your home that you bought is going to be the last one that's going to be updated, or everybody has already been updated and it looks really, really nice, you're going to have a little bit of a premium when we're looking at the price point. If you're on a road where there's still a lot of that development to happen, or everything still looks a little run down and you're ahead of that little bit of a wave, you're going to get a little bit more of a deal. As we take a look at the homes that are available, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit and take you around. You're going to see that there's going to be a pretty big range in the level of home that's out here. You're going to have a $400,000 townhome located right here. Nothing super special. It's going to be a part of a fourplex. As you continue down, you're going to have a 2,500 square foot home for just around $840,000. As we get down to the university, you're going to start to see that the homes get a little bit smaller, but the prices will continue to go up. This is a great place of town. If you're looking for a rental of some sort, you will always have new tenants with the university being right there. And that's part of why this guy here, 1606 South Michigan Ave, you're going to be 1,100 square feet. You're going to look at it. You're going to be like, okay, there's not a lot going on here, but it's over a quarter of an acre lot located just a couple of minutes from the university. That is going to be an investor's dream. A little bit overpriced in my opinion right now, but not by as much as you might think. As we're going through, one of the things about the Boise Bench that really is a standout for some people is if you like that mid-century modern kind of design. This is where you're going to find a lot of those 50s, 60s, 70s homes. Some of them have been taken care of a lot more than others. Some have been renovated to lose that charm. Others were renovated to keep that charm. So if that's kind of your design style, the Boise Bench is going to be a place that you're going to want to look. Again, you're going to find here, this one's going to be a multifamily, so a fourplex for 1.04, 400,000, 300,000. As we're kind of going around, you're just going to see that there's going to be a pretty diverse range. So if you're more on the entry level side of things, or your budget is a little bit more constricting, there's going to be some options in here. But I will tell you the same thing that I've said multiple times. If budget is your number one concern, being in Boise proper might not be the best place for you, because you can get something in this mid 300,000s that's going to be a heck of a lot nicer, a heck of a lot bigger in Kuna, Nampa, even Meridian. So if budget's your main concern, keep it all in relative focus of, okay, that's really cheap for Boise. If it still feels a little too expensive, you're like, that house isn't worth that. It might not be, but we'll need to go ahead and readjust those expectations so that we can find something that does match kind of what you're looking for at the price that works for you. But as we leave the Boise Bench, we're gonna hop over here, basically just hopping across Broadway right here, and we're gonna head into Southeast Boise. Southeast Boise is gonna be a part of town that you're gonna hear referenced a lot. People really do like this part of town, but it incorporates a very large part of Boise. So there's going to be some pretty distinct areas inside of it, but it's basically going to be everything from Broadway here all the way out to about the most southeastern tip of Boise right now. As you can see here, similar to the East End, just the setup of the roads is going to kind of give you a little bit of a hint as to what to expect in these different pockets. Right here towards Broadway, this is going to be, again, right next to the university. You're going to see a lot of smaller homes, older homes. This is where you're going to have a lot of rentals. Everything here is going to be set up very, very similarly to the Boise Bench, to the West End, to the East End, to the North End. You can just see that homes are kind of smacked in here. As you start to come out a little bit, let me hop back over here, you're going to see that these roads are going to start to look a little bit more chaotic in a way, but they're going to look more subdivision-y. And that's where you're going to start to find, again, more of that subdivision living, because we're getting a little bit farther away from downtown. A part of town here that people tend to forget, and a lot of times this is what pushes people to Eagle. So if you're not at the lowest price point, if budget's not your main constricting factor, if you're looking for a really unique home in a great part of town, following the Boise River right here, but being on this southeast Boise side of it, kind of using Park Center, I would say, as the main thing. In here are going to be some of the best riverfront communities that we have in the valley. They're going to have some things that are a little bit similar to a lot of what we find out in Eagle, in kind of this little section that I talk about a lot. It's going to be at a little bit lower scale, not all of them. Some of them are going to be pretty high end still. They're going to be a little bit older, but if you want that proximity, but you want that riverfront community, you want that privacy, mature landscaping, kind of secluded, unique home, this is a part of town that you don't want to forget about. And then as we continue to come out, there's going to be a couple of things that I always like to point out is your main roads are going to be Park Center, kind of cutting through here. This is where you're going to find Barbacoa, you're going to find Red Robin. As you kind of come down, you're going to see the Griddle. This is where you're going to find a lot of office buildings, a lot of financial services, law offices, everything there. Apple Street here is going to be one of those kind of drags from, this is Boise Avenue right here, and then Park Center. This is one of the biggest kind of commercial sections in Southeast Boise. So you're gonna have a couple of grocery stores, restaurants. And then as you continue out Park Center, and again, Boise, you're gonna have the Tavern at Bound Crossing, which is a really cool, small commercial development. You're going to have a couple of great restaurants. Nara Ramen just got put in there. Highly recommend. Craven's Candy Emporium. My wife actually used to work here during college, back when it was called a different name, but it's a very kind of old-timey candy shop. So it's a really cool place to go and find something unique. The kids will absolutely love it. And then as you continue out, if you follow Park Center here, that's going to take you over into Barber Valley, which we'll get to in a second. But if you continue down Boise Ave, you're actually going to end up out here at Barber Park. So Barber Park is a part of town that we don't take advantage of enough, but that's part of where we're located. It's a little bit out of our way. But Barber Park is going to be if you float the river during the summertime. Don't know why I completely spaced what that word was. This is where you're pretty much going to drop in. So they actually have rentals here. We have a bus that basically will shuttle you. So the main Boise River floating kind of route is you'll start at Barber Park and you'll kind of come all the way down here and you'll end roughly right here. So you'll end in Ann Morrison. So either you can park your own car here and then have a car here and kind of shuttle yourself. That way, when you're out of the river, you can get back to your car. But they also have a bus that actually runs throughout most of the summer at designated times between these two. So you can hop in here, leave your car here, and then drive away. But Barber Park is going to be, that's one of the main things with it. There is an event center. You can actually have a wedding down here. There's just a big park. It has access to the Greenbelt, to trails. Barber Park is a great place, part of town. And then out in this part of Southeast Boise, getting way out here, you're going to find Columbia Village tucked back here. So Columbia Village is going to be one of the biggest kind of master plan communities that we have in the Treasure Valley, but it's a little bit older. So it's not going to be the new kind of sterile, new construction neighborhood that you're going to find everywhere. It's going to have really dense landscaping. It has some good diversity of the types of homes that are available in it. In certain parts, you're going to find very much the entry-level home. Everything's going to be from 1980s, 90s, 2000s. As you get over into this side of it, you're going to actually find some homes that were built in 2013. These are going to be a little bit more expensive. When we get over to Surprise Valley, this is going to have a little bit different feel, but all of it is kind of a cohesive community. So it's really cool if you're looking for that master plan community, the paths, the walking, but you don't want to spend on one of the really expensive new construction ones. Columbia Village, people are typically pretty happy out here. And then here in the center, you're going to see Simplot Sports Complex. You're going to have a ton of sports fields. You can see them all numbered here. You're going to have the baseball fields. As you come through, you're going to have some tennis courts. You're going to have an actual junior high and an elementary school located inside of your community. They have their own rec center. Overall, this is just one of the biggest master plan communities. You're going to have most of what you need in here. Right on the corner here, you're also going to have a grocery store. You're going to have a few restaurants, a few more over here, and then really easy access to the highway. The big one here is also, if we continue to go out, you're going to find one of our largest employers here in the Boise area, Micron, and their massive campus. This thing is huge and it's only expanding. So we kind of expect it to continue to grow. Hopping over to the real estate in Southeast Boise, we're going to take a quick look similar to what we did at the Boise Bench, because I want to show you some of the diverse options that you have when we're talking about price points. So in this part of town, you're going to have some options that are going to be closer to that mid 300s to low to mid 400,000s. But this is going to get you 768 square feet, 400,000, but really close proximity to Boise Avenue and Broadway. As you continue to come up just a few streets away, you're going to see a 2,900 square foot for 1.1, another $400,000. This one's going to be an actual townhome located here. Let me zoom out a little bit. As you start to get away from downtown, you're going to start to see a little bit more of that classic subdivision kind of construction starting to take place. These ones here are going to be some kind of view townhomes that overlook, again, the foothills and everything. So a really nice view. And then here in Columbia Village, this is something that I get to show every single time I talk about it. Columbia Village is a massive community with a ton of homes, and it almost never has an extensive number of homes for sale. People move there and they love it there. So this is an area that if people want to live in Columbia Village, it's not always a for sure slam dunk that we'll be able to find you something at the time that you are looking. So it's a really cool place. And if that speaks to you, that might mean that it's a good fit. So you're going to see here, it's going to have 1,300 square feet, 450,000. This is going to be your kind of typical starter home, split bedroom on a very normal size lot. Here we go. Come on. And then right on the other road, and this is in Surprise Valley, you're going to see 4,100 square feet, 875,000. And then we're going to hop into the high end. And this is going to be some of those communities that I talked about right next to the river. You're going to see 2.2 million down by Barber Park. This one's going to have a really nice pool. It's going to be on almost a full acre of a lot. It's going to be really well taken care of. A little bit of an older home, but I mean, look at that stonework. You're going to have different options in this part of town. So everything with Boise, when we're talking about it, is going to be location driven, but depending on what you're looking for, you might have a good shot at finding what you like. Okay, and to wrap up today, we're going to talk about our fourth and final community of part 2, and this is the one that I was the most excited to talk to you about. Is we're going to head over to Barber Valley here. So we're going to be right on the other side of the river of Southeast Boise that we were just talking about. Barber Valley is going to have a few different communities kind of located in it. So you're going to have Harris Ranch, a massive master planned kind of development taking place. You're going to have the Mill District. You're going to have a couple of other communities tucked back here. This is going to be one of my favorite parts of town. If you take Warm Springs Mesa up here, you're going to see a ton of view homes. It's going to be very Highlands-y focused. Harris Ranch, though, is a part of town that it's been growing pretty quickly over the last, 10 years or so, but it's just continuing to go. They have plans right here in this kind of big open space right now to do a really large kind of town square that's going to resemble something kind of like the Village, where they're going to have different restaurants, different retail. It's going to have a big kind of courtyard, really pedestrian friendly. When you're looking at Harris Ranch, you're going to see some interesting different types of neighborhoods. So as you look into this portion, you're going to find that it's going to be, again, smaller lots. This isn't the place where you're going to find a ton of room. You're not going to have your massive yard. Everything here is very lifestyle driven and it's very community focused. As you get over here, you're going to start to find more of that classic subdivision. You're going to find a mix of newer homes, older homes. When you come into the Mill District, you're actually going to find ones that are on 0 lots. You're going to have some kind of townhome communities. But then when you're up here, you're going to see in kind of this part, so just outside of the Mesa, Interstellar, these roads right here, this is actually going to be Boulder Point, which is one of the newer communities that overlooks the entire valley. You will get some killer views out in this part of town. And again, it's just not always easy to find stuff like that. But when we're talking about the appeal of this part of town, so you are still within shouting distance of Bound Crossing here. If you just shoot down Park Center, you still have the same access to the river, to the Greenbelt. You're going to have Marianne Williams Park, which is a huge park located in this Barber Valley. You're going to again have this big town center that's going to be built. You're going to have a few different commercial kind of retail spots. The Mill District right here is going to have a couple of really underrated restaurants in Lucky 13, a pizza place, Lost Shack right here, and right next to it, you're actually going to find Lemon Tree and The Still. Lost Shack is going to be Lost Grove Brewing, and then Sushi Shack kind of came together and made a really cool little concept. Coffee mill for your drinks. And then as you continue to go out, one of my favorite parts of our entire city, the Idaho Shakespeare Festival. So this takes place every single summer. They have a little calendar of different plays that they go through. It's an actual true theater troupe that comes out. We go a couple times a year. It's a really cool experience. They have a nice amphitheater. It's really, really cool. As you continue out Warm Springs, you're just going to see that there's little communities that kind of pop out. Everything here is all about the access to the foothills. So each of these communities is going to have trailheads inside of it. You're going to have access to the Ridge to Rivers trail system that is located back here. Everything up into this part of town is just super unique, and people really like to live here. As you zoom out, you're going to see that if you continue down these roads past it, you're going to get out to Lucky Peak, which is a great place for water sports. This part right here is kind of Arrowhead. That's going to have a ton of kind of picnic tables, big green spaces. You have access to that outdoor living just right over here. And now hopping into the real estate of Barber Valley. So when you're looking at Barber Valley, this is a part of town where, again, you're not going to find the cheapest homes in the area, but that's because, just like I've said for a couple of these, Harris Ranch, Barber Valley, this is a part of town that can offer something that no other place can. The ability to actually be 2 minutes from walking on the Greenbelt to taking a bike ride down the Greenbelt to go into the river to go fishing, but also to be just a couple of minutes from the foothills, going out for the hikes, a run, whatever it is. It's really hard to find real estate in those very small areas. So as we take a look here, you're going to see kind of in downtown Harris Ranch, I guess I'll call it. You're going to see this is a 2,600 square foot home, but it's on only a 4,700 square foot lot. No garage on the front. But as you go through, you're going to see it's a high level of construction, has really good finishes, really, really nice home. But this is going to be basically your backyard. So you got a garage out back, but it's kind of sacrificing the space on your actual lot for your outdoor living, because they want you to go out and actually experience the neighborhood, the outdoors that you have accessible to you. A lot of times the people that I have that want to live out here is going to be people that are like, hey, I love to be outdoors. I love to play with my dogs. I don't care about playing with them in my own backyard though. I'd rather take them out for a hike, take them to the park. All of that is in close proximity. So it kind of takes place of that typical suburban living kind of style. You're going to see down here, there's a ton of modern looking ones. Harris Ranch does a good job though, keeping it kind of fresh. They switch up the kind of designs that they have all throughout. There's some new condo buildings popping up down here. As we come over to this portion of Harris Ranch, you're just going to see that these ones are going to have a little bit more of that classic yard. We're going to start to get into the Mesa style here, but we're still pretty low. A lot of new construction down here. That's going to be Barber Vista, taking you up here to actual Boulder Point. So this is where you're going to start to really get into the high price points here in our valley. So you're going to have really top of the line builders on big lots. But even here, what you can see, this is going to be what your lot kind of overlooks. So you have nobody behind you. You're overlooking all of downtown. You've got the Owyhees over here. Everything about this is, hey, you're going to spend a pretty penny, but you're going to get one of the best lots in the entire valley. That who knows how many of these there will actually be. You're also going to get a killer home on that lot. So 4,200 square feet, you can tell it's going to be about as luxury of a living as you can. This one actually has a courtyard in the middle of it. All of these homes, they really did a good job of making it at an elevation and setting the homes up so that it doesn't run into the same issue that the Highlands has, for example, where depending on the side of the road you're on, you could have a really nice view, or you could basically just be able to see across the street and see your neighbor's home. They've tried their best to kind of set it up so that everybody has a good look at a view. And then these houses here are enough higher than these ones that they can still kind of peer out over them. But again, this one's going to have a ton more of a premium than this lot. So if you're looking for that kind of higher end home or something that's a little bit more private, you have the view, this is going to be a part of town that I would highly recommend. Over here, you're going to have Harris North, and right here is actually a view of one of the lots that's actually available there to give you a little bit of a peek at what that actual view would look like. So as you can see, you're overlooking all of Harris Ranch. You get to see a little bit of the sunset. It is a great part of town. And if you're going to spend a couple $1,000,000 on a home, I struggle to find a better part of town for you to live in. And there you go. That was part 2 of our deep dive together, going over everything that comprises the city of Boise, Idaho. If you have any questions about any of the areas that we talked about today, or just relocating to the Boise, Idaho area in particular, all of my information is down in the description below. I would love to find a way to help. So call, text, email, whatever works best for you. I would love to help if there's a way that I can. But until then, I hope that this was helpful, and I'll see you all on the next one.